Hey everyone, this is Kronos from Texas Smash. Let's nerd out together. Today we'll be talking about one of the biggest remaining mysteries in My Hero Academia, something that has been in question for over 200 chapters, something that was not even revealed in the Reveal Happy War arc. In chapter 83, for the first time, Present Mike asks, "Who is the traitor?" Well, I have a top suspect, and I'm confident after listening to this evidence I'm about to cover, you will suspect him as well. Spoiler warning, this video will contain pieces of evidence from both the My Hero Academia manga and My Hero Vigilantes manga. We will only be talking about the plot points relevant to the accusation of a certain character. However, if you don't want to be spoiled in any way, then it would be best to catch me on the next anime-only video. But if you want to know who the traitor is, then stick around, because I'll have you saying guilty by the end of this video. I hope you're having a great day, and even if you're not, everything is fine now. Why, you ask? Because another video from Texas Smash is here. Like and subscribe. Principal Nezu. Now I know the first thing that everyone is going to say is, what about his internal dialogue when he was talking about how he needed to find the traitor whenever they set up the dorms? We will get to that, I promise. But before we do, I think it's important we establish a few things first. Most people watching this video probably already know this, but I want to remind everybody that Nezu still holds a grudge against humanity to this day for being experimented on by humans in the past. Here is the first major thing I need the audience to go with me on, although I'm willing to bet the majority of you will find this extremely likely. Nezu was experimented on by All For One, or at least someone who works for him. And if you were experimented on by All For One, that means you probably got a quirk, either taken or given to you, either by will or by force. We have lots of examples of this happening. In chapter 193, Deku enters the Vestige world and witnesses, among other things, a flashback of All For One giving two desperate men a quirk to help them out. Any time All For One gives a quirk out, it does not end well. Remember how eager he was to give Ragdoll her quirk back in Tartarus? He said, "Just give the word." Let's look at some other people who have had dealings with All For One in the past. Let's start with Tamura. Well, he's basically lost control of his body at this point and is a host for All For One to drive. Then, of course, we have the Nomu. They look like they're really loving life. In Vigilantes and in My Hero, we have Shirakumo, the pure-hearted, promising UA student, best buds with Aizawa and Present Mike during their time at UA. Well, Shirakumo isn't so pure anymore. Not after All For One got through with them, at least. Last one, because there are more, but I do feel like we should talk about the villain 6 in Vigilantes. Let's just say he's dealing with a major identity crisis right now. So pretty much anybody who's ever made a deal or been forcefully experimented on by All For One, it never works out well. Remember, All For One once told his brother that he wanted to be the Demon Lord from the manga that his little brother was reading. Ever heard the phrase, "Don't make a deal with the devil"? Next item that we need to establish is that quirks are genetic. Who says animals can have quirks in rare cases? Oh, Principal Nezu said that. That's right. Nezu did not have a quirk before the experiments, meaning that he got high spec from the experimentation, thus creating a Nezu, but 100% a product of the All For One umbrella. And even if Nezu did have high spec before the experimentation, that means he could have talked and told the person experimenting on him, "Hey, this hurts," but they continued to experiment anyway. Sounds like an All For One scientist to me. Either way, we end up at the same conclusion, that All For One did experiment on Nezu. However, since quirks are genetic, I believe that Nezu got high spec from All For One during this experimentation process. quote, I am a rare case of an animal having a quirk, end quote. This is a lie. We only have confirmation of one other character, and we have to leave the main My Hero series to find this guy. Enter Monster Cat from the Vigilantes manga. Now this thing went berserk, but only because he was forcefully given a dose of trigger. At the end of his rampage, he's seen being held by Queen, and it doesn't really look like this is the first time Queen's ever held this cat. Queen worked for All for One to help experiment with the drug trigger, meaning there's a really good chance that this kitty has undergone some sort of experimentation as well. Let's stay with Vigilantes for a second because I do want to talk about Six again. Six is not an animal, but he was created, so Six did not have a natural birth. And he has depression over feeling like a crafting project. You know what else sounds like a crafting project to me? Now, if you're staying with me so far, All for One experimented on Nezu. Anytime you get a quirk from All for One, it comes with a steep price. And since quirks are genetic, Nezu must be lying about being an extremely rare case of an animal with a quirk. Although I guess he can't really say that this dude in a black suit hooked him up. Now let's talk about the unnatural quirk that Nezu has for a moment. The most basic definition is that high spec gives Nezu an intelligence level greater than any human. One key point of high spec is that Nezu is able to determine cause and effect reactions further out than the human mind can even perceive. However, it is only because of high spec that Nezu is capable of thinking, speaking, and acting like a human. Think of the leverage that All for One probably has over Nezu. If Nezu doesn't do what All for One says, All for One could take his quirk back and basically take Nezu's humanity. Lemillion losing permeation was really sad, but if Nezu lost his quirk, he would go back to being a normal rat. Now for the elephant in the room. Let's go over the internal dialogue that everyone references line by line. Here, all Nezu is saying is that this shows an effort on his part to locate the traitor, which would be expected of him, being the principal of UA. If he did not take any action, wouldn't that raise suspicion? Do I really need to go into detail on this one? Avoid a public investigation? Real convenient, Nezu. But in the position I'm in, I have no choice. Nezu has no choice because he has to do what All for One says, and it pains him to suspect someone because he knows that anyone he accuses will be falsely accused. Nezu is assuming the role of what an innocent principal would be doing in this situation. Remember, his quirk grants him intelligence greater than any other human. He's rated a 6 out of 5 in the Ultra Archive for intelligence. Also remember, his quirk gives him the ability to see cause and effect actions far ahead of anyone else. So this is nothing more than the route he should take to yield the least suspicion possible for himself. If you're a traitor and you're going to be suspected anyway, then why not go ahead and lead the charge of the investigation so that way you can control the narrative? Remember whenever the League of Villains attacked USJ and they brought a Nomu with them? What was that Nomu designed to do? Take All Might at 100% of All Might's power. Well, Nezu saw that All Might spent all his energy on his way to school that day saving civilians. Nezu held All Might up because he knew All Might wasn't 100% like All for One wanted him to be. All Might trusts Nezu completely. So much so that All Might told Nezu about the transfer of One for All to Deku. Now, a lot of teachers know that All Might has a weakened form resulting from his first fight with All for One. But very few people know exactly how One for All works and that it was transferred to Deku. I believe that All for One created a scenario in which All Might believes he saved Nezu to ensure that All Might trusted Nezu. From All Might's perspective, it seems like Nezu feels as if he owes him his own life and that their friendship is genuine. And maybe as time went on, their friendship became more genuine. However, for Nezu, not being turned back into a rat probably takes priority over his friendship with All Might. Getting a quirk from All for One is like making a deal with the devil. So what is Nezu's curse? Could he have been a reversed engineered Kurogiri? Kurogiri was a pure, true hero when he was still Shirakumo. If All for One wanted a mole, or better yet, a rat, what better way to turn something with instinctual hatred towards humans and make him believe at his very core that he is good? Kurogiri had evil thoughts in his monologue. Nezu has good thoughts in his. And who is a better candidate? Nezu is the lead authority figure of UA, the top hero academy in Japan. He's best friends with All Might and has contained not only the top hero prospects, but a new holder of One for All into his own personal rat maze. I mean dorms. Don't forget it was Nezu who recommended to All Might that he should become a teacher in the first place. All for One already made All Might witness his master's grandson become the symbol of terror right in front of his eyes. Next up, one of All Might's closest friends. Fun fact before we go, Nezu literally means rat in Japanese. Do you agree with me that Nezu's our guy? Or do you still suspect someone else more? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.